Welcome back to Point Shaver. This is episode 4, should be episode 5. I was at Disney last week. I wasn't able to get a video out, but I will put a picture somewhere up here of my picks. I was 11 for 14. So far in the year, I'm 38 for 50. So I want to be above 70%, and right now it looks like I'm around like 76%. So we're looking really good on the year, and we're just going to jump straight right into it. First fight of the night, we have a middleweight fight between Damian Pinaz versus Wes Schultz. Pinaz is just another heavy hitter, really big contender coming up. His only loss, I think, is from like an illegal kick or knee or something like that. He has really good power, really good striking, really good straight shots. He could be a little wild at times, which could lead him to getting taken down and being controlled on the ground maybe, potentially. But he's got some good jiu-jitsu as well. For Wes Schultz, he's coming off a big win, 2 back-to-back big wins. He finally got his shot on Dana White Contender Series again. He had a good performance, but he's going against a guy sort of like Mansour Abdul Malik, big, heavy hitter. Maybe doesn't have the wrestling, but Damian Pinaz, I believe, is the favorite, probably should be the favorite. His striking is just a little too good, a little too strong, a little too powerful. So I'm going to go with Pinaz in this one. I do think he scores a finish. I can see him getting this done. First round KO. In the second fight of the night, we have a featherweight fight between Eric Silva versus Francis Marshall. Francis Marshall has been maybe on the wrong end of a split decision recently, and then maybe on the correct end of a split decision. He's had back-to-back ones. He's a pretty good fighter. He's got good straight shots. He can throw good leg kicks. He's got really good wrestling. That's where he shines the most, is in the grappling department. Same with Eric Silva, though. Eric Silva's just a little bit older. He's 38 now, and he is not one in the UFC yet, going against a younger guy in Francis Marshall who's only getting better. I do think the wrestling of Francis Marshall is just going to be too much for him. I do think he's going to be able to get controlled on the ground. Eric Silva does have good jiu-jitsu and submissions as well. I don't really like the striking of Silva too much. I don't think it's that good, so I don't think the feet will be a problem whatsoever. I do think Francis Marshall will be able to, throughout the rounds, land a takedown, get control, just do enough to be able to win. I could see this being a 29-28, maybe 30-27 decision for Francis Marshall. And the third fight of the night is going to be Regina Tarrin versus Ernesta Caracate. Regina Tarrin is making her debut on 3 days' notice. Caracate was supposed to fight somebody else. Opponent fell out. Tarrin is stepping in. She's a 7-0. I think she has 6 finishes, like 4 of them by knockout, 2 of them by submission. She's really lengthy, a really good striker. She's really dangerous. I just don't know with her coming in on 3 days' notice with the UFC, it's a little tough of an ask going against somebody like Ernesta Caracate, who's got really good cardio. She's able to push a pace. She doesn't really have knockout power or anything like that, but she puts out a lot of volume. She'll probably keep this fight on the feet, and it's just going to be a back and forth. If Regina can hold up with the cardio, I do think she has, the better striking, and she's obviously more dangerous. But coming in 3 days' notice, it's just going to be tough. So for those reasons, I'm going to go with Caracate in this one just because of the short notice of it. But I do think Regina Tarrin in that first round will show really good glimpses and signs that she could be in the UFC, and she's going to be a good striker. But for this one, I'm going to go Caracate, 29-28, potentially 30-27 decision, probably unanimous. And next fight, we have Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Javier Reyes. Andrade, 40 years old, UFC veteran. He's had a lot of tough fights in his career. He's got a pretty cool resume for a guy that's never really reached the top 10 or any of the heights of these, superstars or anything like that. But he's always floated around somewhere in the top 15 or right outside the rankings. And he's a good striker. He's really hard to beat. He's got a pretty good record, good leg kicks, pretty powerful, hard to take down, hard to control. And he's going against Javier Reyes, who did win on his Dana White Contender Series, but I didn't like what I saw. I know he got a first-round KO, but it looks like he swings with his head down, and his hands are low, and his chin's up in the air, and I didn't really like that out of Javier Reyes, and he doesn't have that great of a record early on anyways. He'll obviously have the reach and height advantage here, but I think Silva de Andrade is just too good, and I think he's just going to be too much for him in this fight. I think his striking is going to be better. If it gets to the ground, I think he'll have an advantage there. I think he's just going to be a little bit more technical than Reyes. So for those reasons, I'm going to go with Andrade in this one. I think it does go to decision. He could clip him. I do think Reyes is pretty easy to touch, but I do think Andrade gets it done. I think he lands some good leg kicks. I think he'll land the more powerful shots as well. Reyes is very forward pressure, very aggressive, willing to give one to take one, or take one to give one, I should say. But yeah, I do think Andrade is just better, more experienced. Fought at the higher levels than Reyes has. So for those reasons, I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Andrade. I think he's going to get it done by decision. I'm going to go 29-28, maybe 30-27. And next fight we have is in the bantamweight division, Christian Quinones versus Chris Moutinho. Moutinho's not really had a great stint in the UFC so far, but I mean, he's faced some savages. He's faced Wellmaker, and he's faced, obviously, O'Malley, and obviously he's gotten dominated in both of those fights. And, he's a solid fighter. He's durable. He's tough. He's got solid striking, and, he's got good forward pressure, but he's chinny. He's really easy to be hit. And Quinones is pretty aggressive, hits pretty hard. He does have a really big weakness in his game of getting submitted and tiring out pretty early. So it's a little hard to say who's going to win this fight. I just don't see how Moutinho can get a win in the UFC after the two performances I've seen. It's a little unfair criticism against him, going against those higher ranked guys. And yeah, I mean, he went against a champion, obviously, and Wellmaker's a really big prospect. I know he's coming off a loss, but Wellmaker still is going to be really good in the future. Quinones, he's got good striking. He's heavy, heavy hands. If it does get to the ground, he does have jiu-jitsu, but he gets submitted a lot. It's a tough fight. I'm going to go with Quinones. I just think he's a little bit more dangerous than Moutinho, and I think Moutinho gets finished again. So for those reasons, I'm going to go with Quinones, second round TKO ground strikes. And the next fight is in the women's bantamweight division. We have Eileen Perez versus Macy Chiasson. Chiasson had a pretty good performance last fight. I thought she won. She got dominated in the first round, and then I thought she won the second and third. It was a pretty gutsy performance, but she did take an L in her last fight. And Eileen Perez made her UFC debut. She got submitted by, I think, Stephanie Egger, I think. But then ever since then, I mean, she's taken out every opponent she's fought, and she's won every single fight that she's been in, and she's been really tough to deal with. Her wrestling is just really good. She's really got tough, just top control, and Macy Chiasson is just a little bit more of a slower starter, slower strikes. I think Eileen Perez will be able to land some takedowns and get her on her back. I just think at this point, Eileen Perez is just a little bit better at this point in her career. Macy Chiasson is just much bigger than Perez. I mean, she's 5 inches taller, probably weighs much more. She's got like a 6-inch reach advantage off the top of my head. So Chiasson will have an advantage on the feet. But Eileen Perez, I do think, gets it done, and I do think she will win this by decision. She could sub her with maybe like a rear naked or arm triangle, but I see Eileen Perez getting this done by decision. The wrestling is just going to be too much. I see a 29-28, 30-27 unanimous decision here. In the next fight, we have Ryan Gondra versus Jose Medina in the middleweight division. This is a pretty easy fight to pick here. Medina has just not been good in the UFC so far. Tough challenges early on versus obviously Atiba Gutierrez in his debut, and then against Dusko in his last fight, he got submitted. But Ryan Gondra, just heavy hands, much faster on the feet. Medina does have a chin for the most part. He could take some shots, but how many can he take? We saw that in the Gutierrez fight. He was taking some shots early, and then eventually he got put away. Gondra, I do think, puts him away. I'm going to say first round finish. I think the striking is just going to be too much. I think it's going to be too fast, too powerful. Pretty easy prediction here. Gondra should get it done. In the next fight, we have Santiago Luna versus Angel Pacheco. Pacheco is a tough guy. He's a gutsy, just dog fighter. Not that great, not too technical. Doesn't do anything really too well, but he's game. He stays in the fight. He's got a chin. But Luna, he's only 21 years old. He hits really hard. He's really fast, really technical. He's going to be a problem. If he can get a win here, I mean, you can, see him having some bigger fights in the future really quickly. He's only 21 years old, and I mean, he's already fighting on the main card, I'm pretty sure, tomorrow. He's very good. His striking is really phenomenal. He's really fast. He's really diverse with his kicks and his hands. I don't see how Pacheco can stand in front of him. I do think Luna does get a finish here. I think Luna gets it done by first-round KO. Pacheco is game. He's solid, but this is just the next generation of guy. I mean, you're going to see Luna probably stick around in the bantamweight division, somewhere near the top of the rankings in the upcoming future. I mean, he's big for the division too, but yeah, he's going to be a savage. So I got Santiago Luna getting it done by first round KO. And the next fight we have is Imanol Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. In this one, Imanol Rodriguez, obviously from that Oklahoma State wrestling program, his wrestling is going to be very good. His striking is really aggressive too. I mean, he's got powerful shots. I mean, he follows up for the kill. I think he's got a perfect finishing rate. Kevin Borjas is a pretty good striker. I don't know how he's going to defend these takedowns, though. I think Rodriguez is just – this is a really good matchup for Rodriguez. I don't know how Borjas is going to be able to stop the wrestling, and he's going to be able to mix it up too well. I do think Imanol Rodriguez gets it done here. I think he's able to get a finish in this one. I think he gets a submission. I think he'll get his back, maybe get an arm triangle, some type of choke, and I could see it being done in the second round. But this should be a pretty good fight early on, but Rodriguez should take over. And our next fight is in the flyweight division, Edgar Chairez versus Felipe Bunes. Bunes not been too impressive in his career so far. I think he had a submission over Johnson in his career a couple years ago, I believe. Edgar Chairez, I mean, he had a fight against the champ, against Joshua Van, and he had him hurt, and he had really good success in that fight. I think Chairez, the striking is just too good. He's too durable. He's going to be able to stand in the pocket and trade. He's going to land harder shots. He's got really good kicks. I think this is a pretty easy pick here as well. Chairez is just better. I think he gets it done. I think he will be able to just get a gutsy 30-27. Every round is somewhat competitive, but he's able to just land the better shots. I think he gets it done by decision, 30-27. And our next fight is in the lightweight division, against Daniel Zellhuber versus King Bobby Green, or just King Green. This is an interesting fight because Zellhuber, he was supposed to win against Michael Johnson. He's got really good kicks. He throws a lot of kicks, maybe too many kicks. Obviously, he's a really good striker. He's really big for the division as well. He's got 77-inch reach. He's 6'1", 6'2", really lengthy, really long. But he struggled against Michael Johnson, and if there's anyone that can replicate what Michael Johnson does, it is King Green. I mean, he's got fast hands. He's got really good striking, really elusive. He might be more elusive than Michael Johnson, too, with his head. But he's, very susceptible to getting kicked in the head. We saw that recently in his last fight against Mauricio Hufi. So I do think Zellhuber bounces back in this one. I think, obviously, King Green can show some really good signs early, though. I think he's going to be a little bit faster with the hands. I think he'll be able to touch up Zellhuber early, but I do think Zellhuber will find a way to get this finished. I think another head kick, maybe he wobbles him with a head kick, and then he follows up with some strikes on the ground. I do think Zellhuber gets a finish here. I'll say second round KO here for Zellhuber. In the co-main event, we have Chito Marlon Vera versus David Martinez. This is a tough fight as well. I think people are sleeping on Marlon Vera. Obviously, he's slow. He just starts way too slow in his fights. His first rounds, he always kind of concedes those. So he always is down on the scorecards, and then he just doesn't do enough in the fights. I mean, he's a very good striker. He's very durable. Has a good chin, and he's powerful himself. But David Martinez, I think, is just too fast. I think he's just going to be too powerful, and he's going to be too quick. I don't see this fight getting finished. I do think David Martinez will piece him up on the feet. He'll be able to keep distance, keep range, keep him at range with leg kicks and a jab. But he's just going to be too quick for him. So I think David Martinez is the pick here. Chito Vera he's a good underdog in this fight because he's a very good fighter. I think he slept on a little too much. He had a close fight with Zahibi. Some people even thought he won. But I'm going to go with David Martinez. I think he gets it done by decision. I could see maybe Chito Vera, sneaking out the second or third round, David Martinez wins like the first and the second, or first and third. I'm going to go 29-28, David Martinez. And in the main event, I have Brandon Moreno versus Loner Kavanagh. The last fight Moreno had just left a really sour taste in my mouth against Tatsuro Taira. He got dominated. I was in attendance for that fight and got to see that. That was not pretty. And obviously Loner Kavanagh is coming off of a big knockout loss as well, but that was a little bit more fluky. Maybe not fluky, but a little bit more of, just showing inexperience. He let his foot off the pedal. I mean, he was dominating that fight against Charles Johnson. He's just a better striker than Moreno. He's going to be more powerful than Moreno. The grappling is a real question here. Moreno could definitely take him to the ground and control him. But I like Kavanagh. I do. I think Kavanagh is the play here. I think he's just the fighter on the feet. He's going to be faster. He's going to be stronger. He's going to be he's going to get to the punches first. Moreno's pretty easily hittable too. He's got a good chin, but he gets touched up a lot. I think Kavanagh will touch him up a lot. I think he learned from his mistake that he made in his last fight. He's still a young fighter too. And I think we've already seen the best of Brandon Moreno. So I'm going to go with Loner Kavanagh, big underdog pick here. I think he gets it done by finish. I think he actually will be the first one to test that chin of Brandon Moreno and put him away by TKO. I don't know if has Brandon Moreno been finished? I'm not too sure. If I'm wrong on that, my bad. But I do think Kavanagh gets a finish here. I'll say third round TKO. He rocks him, drops him, and then he follows up with some ground strikes. Ref stops it, and you strap a rocket to Kavanagh's back to the title picture. So those are my picks. Hopefully, we go above 70% this week. We're at 38-50 on the year, so we're doing pretty well. Let's keep the train rolling. I will see you guys next event. Have a good night.